Lisa. I'm getting it right to the point here. So lately we've had some cases that had to do with new grads, from medication errors to them actually leaving their job. It kind of seems like they're all experiencing different stages of transition, some dealing with it better than others. So let's dig a little deeper into this.
Okay, I've done a lot of research in this area. Can you tell me about case number 1?
Alright, so case number 1 has to do with a new grad who made a medication error last week. She administered the wrong dose of insulin to a diabetic patient and failed to report it until 24 hours later.
Wow, that's a problem. Let's go interview her right now. Hi Kaylee, I'm here to talk about the insulin error that you made on November 24th, 2013.
Yeah, I remember that day. I'm pretty new on the unit. I've only been working there about 2 months, and I've been really stressed out lately, like with everything being new, not being able to handle my patient load as well as I'd like. And I just moved here and I just got married. So I've had a lot of like personal stressors lately, and just being on the new unit, whenever I feel like I have to ask a question to some of the nurses, they kind of like look at me like I don't know anything, and I just don't feel comfortable asking them questions. So on top of everything, I was stressed and rushed, and I forgot to double check the medication, and I gave the wrong dose.
Okay.
And then I didn't report it until the next day.
It sounds like what you're describing is what a lot of new grads go through.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read a book called Surviving to Thriving by Judy Boychuk-Dutcher?
Yeah, actually I've heard of it, just briefly though.
She kind of briefly outlines transition shock and goes through quite thoroughly the stages of transition.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you might be in stage 1. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you some pointers to kind of get through that stage.
Sure, that would be great.
First of all, it sounds like you're very stressed out. You just got married. Yeah. I think that you, she outlines that you should have consistency, familiarity, stability, and predictability in your life. And right now, it sounds like everything's kind of crazy, like a roller coaster ride.
It kind of feels like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to sort some things out, find a work-life balance.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Try not to make any major life changes, more than what you already have.
Yeah, okay, I'll try not to do that.
Yeah. Also, I recommend journaling to reflect on your shift and maybe improve for next time.
Yeah, that might help actually, yeah.
And I also recommend finding a mentor, just kind of verbally talk to someone after a shift to debrief. Yeah. It's awesome. In school, you have so many peers, and you always have that debrief at the end of your shift. Mm-hmm. And it's just totally different in practice, and you just don't get that.
Yeah, and even having someone who I can trust to answer my questions and not judge me would be really nice, I think.
Yeah. Also, I recommend talking to your manager. It sounds like there's some unprofessional behavior going on between staff, and you're not feeling very supported. That'd be a good thing to talk to your manager about.
It doesn't always feel really safe either, because if I don't know how to do something, I don't always feel comfortable asking someone for help.
Yeah.
I think I should talk with them.
Yeah. A study done earlier this year by Walker found that new grads and managers don't often share the same ideas of what stressors that new grads go through in their first year. So it would be good to talk to your manager to have that conversation and kind of open both of your eyes up to different perspectives.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Yeah, and just remember that a strong transition is important for new grads, and without that transition, you can go into transition shock, and you might have a lower job satisfaction, and Room in 2011 actually found grads were more likely to leave because of that.
Oh wow.
So I recommend avoiding any kind of anxiety-producing circumstances and try to seek out opportunities for professional development. Okay. That's what Room outlined in her paper.
Yeah, I think those are some awesome suggestions. I'll definitely have to try some of those and definitely talk with my unit manager.
The interview with Kaylee went really well.
Oh, that's really good. I actually got an email from another new grad. I think she's going through the second stage of transition called being. Take a look.
Ooh, show me. seems like this nurse is going through a lot. While she was finally adjusting to her routine, it seemed like she was getting burnt out and questioning whether this job was right for her. I found some research on the second stage. Let's look at it.
Okay.
In her article, Urban discusses that staff shortages and increase in acuity is becoming normal in hospitals. I believe it is important for a new grad to know where they are applying to and ask questions about the staffing on the unit and the support from the staff. In this new grad's case, I'm wondering if the staff support was available. Judy also recommends in her book that new grads should find friends on the unit. Depoletti noted in her research that relationships were identified as paramount to a successful transition. Judy also points out that new grad nurses are past the novice period in the Benner stage where they are comfortable with common events and have to challenge to slowly advance the new grad's thinking and practice. A nurse would be terrified to be thrown into an acute situation immediately. There's also a really great website called Nursing the Future. We could maybe recommend that website for this nurse. I also did another interview of a new grad going through what I think is the third stage of transition. It looks like she's coping well. Take a look.
Okay.
I really think that when I first became a GN, they were able to give me prime examples on specific scenarios that could take place on our unit, and they were able to give me ideas on how to troubleshoot it so that if I ever experienced it, I would be able to kind of know where to start. Okay. In the beginning, when I became a GN, I remember my mentor was really attached to me by the hip. As I transitioned into independence, she was able to give me that freedom, which I really did need to kind of learn from my own practice. Best suggestions my mentor gave me was to just leave work at work and not take it home with me. And so she said to use positive coping mechanisms, so I picked up yoga. I feel like in the beginning I was scared to go to work, kind of worried about that feeling of not knowing, but now I feel like I'm getting comfortable as time goes on, and I'd like to kind of up that and try more of an acute unit, maybe ICU or emergency, somewhere where I can enhance on the skills I've learned on. For the very first time I had a code, I got scared. Initially, every nurse kind of kicks into gear and knows what to do. But my first thought was, oh my God, what did I forget to do that this is happening to the patient? And then eventually when the code team came up, we realized the patient was already way far into septic shock and that there was nothing I could do. I really wish that I was able to debrief better and kind of know that it's okay to call a code and not worry about what had taken place prior or what's going to take place in the future. Mentor really drilled on priorities, so she was able to ask me questions like if I was able to handle my 5-patient load, how I was prioritizing my time according to the patient load I had. I feel like those questions really supported me and have kind of helped me transition into independent practice, so now I'm kind of doing it automatically versus trying to figure out what is more important. It just comes.
Stage 3 is called knowing. Carper states that knowing is the most difficult to master, yet the most important part of understanding nursing. It seems like this new grad is coping with stage 3 well. She's found a hobby and she's more comfortable where she is right now. It also looks like her unit set her up with a really great mentor. Perhaps the healthcare system should consider this for other new grads. Other things that we could recommend for her include engaging in educational opportunities, sharing experiences with friends and colleagues, and maybe volunteering for her work.
Alright, so it looks like all these nurses are handling the stages of transition differently, some coping better than others. Hopefully with all the advice we've given them, they won't go into transition shock and instead transition into competent nurses. Well, it was great working with you, Detective Lisa.